Welcome, my dear students of class 10. Today's points are as follows. Wavell Plan, provisions of Wavell Plan, the cabinet mission proposals, points of differences between Congress and Muslim League. First, Wavell Plan. Who was Wavell? Lord Wavell was the Viceroy of India on June 14, 1945. He called a meeting at Simla. He invited all the Indian Congress leaders and other party leaders to attend the meeting in order to come to a conclusion. The meeting lasted for 3 days there, but it was clear that no one was able to reach to a conclusion regarding the shifting of power for the Indians. Now, provisions of the Wavell Plan. Wavell Plan had kept certain provisions for the Indian leaders. What were the provisions? Number one, with the exception of the Governor General and Commander-in-Chief, all other members would be Indians in the Executive Council. All other members would be the members in the Executive Councils. All other members from India would be the members in the Executive Councils. All other Indians would become the members of the Executive Council except the Governor General and Commander-in-Chief. Because these were, the two important posts were maintained by the British government. They appointed Governor General, they appointed, British headquarters appointed Commander-in-Chief. That's why these two posts would be under the control of the British. And next one, there would be a balanced representation of all communities of equal proportion, so that the communities, the Hindus and Muslims, would sit for discussion. Indians, and next one, Indians would frame their own constitution with an agreement, with the agreement of Commonwealth, with the agreement of all parties. That means they will talk to all political parties, and then finally they would frame their own constitution. And next one, India would be given dominion status within the British Commonwealth. India would be given the dominion status within the British Commonwealth. It was the most important demand the Congress had been demanding from the very, very beginning. But under the Lord Wavell's, proposals and provisions, finally the government decided to provide the right to the Indians dominion status within the British Commonwealth. But Jinnah insisted that all the executive members be chosen by the Muslim League. So this was not acceptable to any other party. Jinnah used the term. The difference and aspirations of the Hindus and the Muslims were quite different than that of other communities. Naturally, this led to a failure of the Wavell Plan. Other, representatives of different political parties and different communities, they strongly opposed it. As a result, the Wavell Plan was an utter failure. Then next, the cabinet mission proposals. The cabinet mission proposals. There are certain proposals of the cabinet mission. The British government, at the end of the Second World War, decided to solve the Indian problems. Their attitude had changed from the repressive Indians to one of the establishing dialogue with the leaders. That's why some of the proposals the cabinet mission had put forward, had given for the Indian leaders. The Labour Party came to power in England. The USA, at the end of the Second World War, the Labour Party came to power in England, and they favored the independence of India. The new party, Labour Party, favored the independence of India. Moreover, the USA and USSR became the superpowers of the world, and they accepted the demand of independence of our country, India. The success of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and his INA had made in the northeastern region made the British realize that the Indians could fight against the British with their own arms, and they might take help from abroad, from other countries of the world also. The Royal Indian Naval Mutiny also took place in the year 1946, made the British aware that not only were the Indians willing to fight the British, but the British control of Indian armed forces was slipping. The British was unable to make pressure on the Indians. So the Indians would keep on agitating, struggling against the British, but the British could not take any repressive measures what they had been doing before. That's why the agitations and attacks made it impossible to govern the country. They thought that they must take responsibilities, they must hear the proposals of the British government in the process of shifting power to the Indians. And that's why the British government sent a commission, sent a mission. That mission is known as Cabinet Mission. Cabinet Mission consisted of some members. They were Lord Patrick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps, and A.V. Alexander. Sir Stafford Cripps earlier came when Cripps Mission was sent to India. That very Cripps Mission gained knowledge from our country, India. That's why once again Sir Stafford Cripps was sent to India with that cabinet mission. The cabinet mission had certain plans for the Indian people. Number one, India was to be federation of states and provinces. And next one, the federation, the federal structure control defense. The federal center, looked after. The federal center looks after defense, foreign affairs and administration, communication, while the provinces would look after the rest. The Union at the center would have a legislature that would deal with subjects on the Union territory, on the Union list, and these laws would be enforced by the Union executive. The provinces could be a part of regional union, forming the union by sharing some of the powers with each other and giving up some of its privileges for a common and unified program. There would be a number of categories: Group A, Group B, Group C. Group A is for UP, MP and Madras. Group B, Bombay and Odisha, and Group B is for Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province and Sindh, and Group C for Bengal and Assam. Each group would have a separate constitution, and a province would be allowed to break away from the group after the first election. If they realize that it is not good for them, they may break away from there, but after one election. The states, on the other hand, could decide what powers to give up when they join the union. And other provision of the cabinet mission, another plan of the cabinet mission, provision of the cabinet mission plan was there would be a constituent assembly that would be elected to draw up a new constitution of India, and it would have 389 members, 292 from the provinces and 93 from Indian states and 4 from, chief commissioners provinces. There would be an interim government of 14 members which would function till the new constitution took shape and came into force. That means these 14 members would play a vital role in drafting the Constitution of India. They would discuss with each other regarding the process of framing constitution, new Constitution of India, and finally they come into conclusion whether the Constitution should be framed. India could choose to join the British Commonwealth or withdraw. It will be decided by India whether they would choose to join the British Commonwealth or withdraw. The Indian leaders were not happy with this plan, but the members of the cabinet mission were convinced about it, and the interim government was set up. The interim government was set up. Now, why were Congress and Muslim League not happy? Why were Congress and Muslim League not happy? Congress and Muslim League were not happy because of the points of differences between the Congress and the Muslim League. Points of difference. There were certain points of differences between the Congress and the Muslim League. Number one, it felt that grouping of provinces on the basis of religion was just a step short of partition. It regarded the grouping of the provinces as optional and not compulsory. The Congress realized that it was unhappy for them at the formation of the interim government, since the Congress was pressurized by the Muslim League. On the other hand, the Muslim League and others felt that there was no clear statement on the formation of the Muslim League of Pakistan. It was happy at being given parity with the Congress in the interim government also. The Sikhs were unhappy that the Punjab had been incorporated into the Muslim majority province, and they were afraid whether the Muslim League would help them, would cooperate with them. They were sure that their interests should not be safeguarded by the Muslim dominated states. And the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes also felt that their interests should not be safeguarded, and they had only one representative, since they had only one representative in the interim government. Only for that point of differences, the cabinet mission plan failed, and the political parties of political leaders of different political parties, they refused to accept the proposal and plan of cabinet mission. The cabinet mission, although tried their level best to find out solution, a concrete solution, before shifting of power to the Indians, but certain points were there which could not fulfill the aims of the Indian leaders. For example, interim government. On the question of interim government, and another plan was there, that was Dominion status under British Commonwealth. But it was not their demand. Finally, they demanded complete independence, Purna Swaraj. That's why it might be a tactics of the British, they thought it. They were asking the Indian leaders to frame constitution of their own. Muslim League would frame constitution of their own, but according to Muhammad Ali Jinnah, there was no assurance of a separate state for the Muslim Pakistan. It was demanded by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, but there was no assurance came from the Britishers. The Congress thought whether the Britishers were trying to misguide the Indian Congress leaders. That's why, the Hindus, many Hindus were there in Punjab. Punjab also was incorporated with the Muslim League. Naturally, it harmed the sentiments of the Hindus. They thought whether their interest would be safeguarded by the Muslim League. Only because of that reason, the cabinet mission plan was rejected by the Congress leaders. And they strongly raised one question of rectification. They raised one question of rectification. They suggested the British government to rectify the cabinet mission plan and to accept their current demands, the demands which were placed before them by the Congress. It must be accepted. Otherwise, they would not accept any demand. They would not recognize any plan they would make for the leaders of India. Up to this, my dear students.